Well, hey, everybody, welcome. Today is Wednesday, June 26th. I'm joined by Tracy. How are you today?
And
Yeah, so glad to have those of you who are with us live today. If you're watching in replay, we're glad to have you with us as well. Today is an interesting day because it marks the end of one phase of bar study as we move into the next. And we're about to come to the 30-day window. It'll happen starting this Sunday. And so this is kind of the last time I think that people can take a little breath and not feel like the exam is going to happen immediately. But once we cross that 30-day window, things change, don't they?
absolutely. Then it's time to really focus and look ahead towards the experience you're going to have and the opportunity to prove your professional competence in just
Yeah.
1 month's time. All of this work is leading up to this opportunity.
Yeah, and that's exciting, and it's anxiety producing, but it's also this opportunity to show what you've been working for, in some cases for months or years. I was talking to a student earlier this morning, and I am actually going to be out of the office for the next few days. This is a scheduled pit stop for me. I've been doing this, as most of you know, for decades now. And one of the things I've learned is that the last 30 days are enormously intense for us on the coaching side, and that taking a few days right before the 30-day window pays enormous dividends to me in terms of my endurance and my energy and my focus. So I scheduled this trip twice a year. If you're in our course, don't freak out. I'll be back on Monday night. We'll start and we'll be full bore, nothing but bar review for those 30 days. Also, if you're in our course, the 30-day countdown messages begin for me on Sunday. So watch for a message this coming Sunday. If you're taking the July 2024 bar exam and you're registered in our course, if you do not get an email from me on Sunday, send us an email because you've either opted out or we just didn't get you into the right group. And we want to make sure you get these messages. The countdown series is designed to give you daily guideposts. Some of those messages are inspirational. Most of them are designed to help you move through the process day by day by day. There's a tendency to believe that the 30 days are one big clump and it just snaps your fingers and there it goes, it happens. But in reality, it isn't that way at all. It's a daily process. And so getting the message every day kind of gets you focused for that day.
I like the messages because they're short, they're focused, and I think they do tend to move the student in the direction that they should be in for that particular time in the pathway to the exam. So I really encourage you to look at these, even if you've looked at them before. Read them again, read them out loud, listen to it with a new ear. They may have something new to say to you.
There's also a fair number of videos that go with those. We don't do one every day in the 30 days, but we do about 15 of them during the 30 days. So we'll link to those in your emails. They're also in your course, but they're important to watch and they go 8 to 10 minutes. And sometimes people say, well, is there a real value to watching them? Yeah, there is. These are videos that are pretty well time tested and really do speak in more depth to what you might be experiencing and what we want you to be doing at different times. I want to talk a little bit about some bar news, and then we'll talk about what's going on here. But one of the things I want to continue to keep in front of you is what's happening in the state of California for the 2025 bars, because it's a changing story. You might remember we told you a while ago that California announced that they would not be giving the multi-state bar exam in February of 2025, that they were going to contract with Kaplan, and Kaplan was going to write a multiple choice test for them, be delivering the test not in their test center, not in the typical test centers, but as an at-home test or in some other format so that the Cal Bar could save money because the Cal Bar is functionally bankrupt. Who knew? Kaplan was awarded a contract or was about to be awarded a contract for multiple millions of dollars to draft this new exam. Well, last week there was another development in the story. Turns out the National Conference of Bar Examiners said, Kaplan, your questions that you're developing are based on our questions, and we think that's a copyright violation. And incredibly enough to me, with all these people with law degrees, nobody had thought about that up until that point. And I find this particularly fascinating. I don't think, Tracy, you even know this story. Kaplan's multi-state course actually was acquired from my former partner, Stan Hamrick, at the study group. And I had the question that were developed by SMH Bar Review back in the 70s by Walter McLaughlin. We had developed and designed those questions and modified them and done some other things, and we had licenses from the NCBE. Well, Stan sold his company to Stanley Kaplan, and Kaplan took his questions and modified them slightly for the Kaplan Bar Review. So the questions that Kaplan apparently wanted to use for California are actually a derivative of the questions that were written by SMH in the late 1970s, which we no longer use. I mean, clearly we're licensed by the NCBE, so we use the real thing. But that's where those questions come from. And I can only imagine that Stan, who is no longer in the bar review business when he reads this story, is laughing hysterically because Kaplan was going to try and make some extra money on something from years and years and years ago. And the NCBE has said to them, not so fast. So where does that leave us? Well, the Cal Bar put the brakes on the Kaplan deal for right now. They're going back and they're negotiating, I think, with the NCBE and with Kaplan. And it now looks like California may just stay with the traditional, what we're calling the legacy bar exam for February of 2025 to be administered as it's always been administered, where you go to Oakland or you go to LA or wherever it might be. They've not made a final determination yet. So if you are planning to take the California bar exam in February 2025, I would suggest that you start now and get as much of your studying underway as you can so that when the final determination is made, you're able to pivot whatever direction that is, and we'll be ready for that. If it turns out to be the Kaplan test, I'll just go back in my archives and pull out the old questions we had from SMH. But that's where we stand today.
What it says to us to tell our students is that don't get too involved in the facts of all this. Just, hear what's going on. Go ahead, study, get ready, do your thing. But if you are thinking about deferring, if you're signed up for this summer and you're thinking about deferring, think twice about deferring because things are just going to get, not going to clarify. They're going to get much, much. So if you get ready, if we can help you get ready in some point, no, take it now. You can't.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And we'll keep our eyes on it. Obviously, we'll see what happens. We do have a representative of NCBE that's going to come on our podcast and webinar next month. I'm looking forward to that. We'll ask her some questions about that as much as she can tell us. But not surprising that NCBE said, hey, there's a copyright issue here. So we will see. There's so many problems with this. And I think what it does also, frankly, is it keeps states like Florida and Georgia in the legacy bar exam for right now. There's no way they want to join into this particular cluster until it gets resolved. So this is one of the things that we're going to keep an eye on. All right, the last announcement I have is something that we're starting to roll out, and I wanted to just make you aware of it. Obviously, AI is becoming more and more a part of the landscape. And I've been playing around with a lot of AI lately because we've been working on the new course for the Apple Vision Pro, which is very exciting, quite different. But in addition to that, we've been taking some of our lectures and updating them and then re-recording them using AI voices. Now you might say, oh, AI voice, I don't think I like that at all. You'd be surprised if we didn't tell you it was AI, you might not know on some of these. But we are working to do it. And the great advantage of this is that we can take a lecture. Typically, it's very hard to re-record a lecture just because you're changing a paragraph or a sentence here or a sentence there. But we still want to make sure we're accurate. And of course, our books are where we made all those changes historically, the digital online copies of the book. But now we can do a digital change in the lecture and then republish it. And instead of having to spend hours recording it ourselves, we have an AI voice do it. If you're in the California course, you're going to get an example of this. If you go to professional responsibility, in the California professional responsibility lecture, we have now updated that California specific lecture, and we're using an AI voice that we call Monica. I like Monica. She's got a very pleasant, comforting voice, and you can listen to Monica. We're also working with taking our text, the actual outline, and having that read to you. If you're familiar with Speechify, for example, we're using that platform to have the outline read by an AI voice. Now, what's really creepy about this is that we've cloned my voice. So you can actually have me read the outline to you. And so we're working on that, and we'll release that in a couple of these lectures that we're working on. But it's an interesting idea because we know that there's some of you who like to listen to the outlines as well as read them. So this is an opportunity to do that. And of course, you can adjust the speed of the reading and a lot of other things. So that's a second way that we're using the AI voices. And then the third thing that we're doing is that we are using AI to create summaries, short summaries in some of these subjects that we are now posting for you to look at and review. So if you're a Florida student, if you look in Florida trusts, I believe you're going to find a short AI summary of the trust material. And it's a pretty effective way to get a quick 2-minute read of a long piece of material. So we're working on those things. We're adding those as we go along. The place that you're going to find them, no matter what your course is, UB, Georgia, California, or Florida, is the Update Center. In that Update Center, we will identify when we've made this kind of a change. You'll see it listed on that page. As you're going through on a weekly basis now, from now until the exam, make sure you check out the update page to see those changes. And by the way, we look at all of that. It's not the AI doing it by itself. There's a human behind it, checking it, making sure it's right and working. So love to get your feedback as we do that, see what you think about it. It's very, very interesting. And I gotta admit, I'm having fun. Haven't cloned your voice yet, Tracy, but we could.
That would be creepy.
This is cool stuff. We think it's out there. And really the goal of it isn't just to do it for its own sake. It's to make your study more efficient and more effective. So that's what we're doing. All right, we've got some student questions. And then after the student questions, Tracy, your topic message today is all
hail.
I think I know what that means, but we will get to that. Let's go ahead and jump into student questions. Did I miss anything? Any announcements, Tracy? Yay me. Okay. So we've been hearing from a lot of California students. This was the week to hear from California students on a lot of things. One student sent me an attachment from a California State Bar workshop. Now, a lot of jurisdictions do these workshops for repeat bar takers. Some of the material in these workshops are very, very useful. Some of them are obscure. Some of them are crazy, ridiculously bad, and some of them are just misguided. In this particular one, the lecturer indicated that on the California bar exam, you absolutely had to know professional responsibility. And I agree with that. We showed them at the Level Up Day, but they will be released to all of you around July 10th. I'll just give you this right now. For California, professional responsibility, I think, will be on the exam. That's not a big, I'm not going way out on a limb to say that. It's typically on the exam. But it was worth extra weight on the exam. The essay for professional responsibility was given more weight. Well, that is empirically untrue. Does not happen. Every one of the essays are graded and weighted exactly the same. The performance test in California, like in the UBE and Georgia, is given a factor of 1.5. But the essays are all graded and worth the same amount. So this individual is going on and on about how it's worth 7% more than any other essay. What in the world? Where did you get that from? And so our student got understandably a little freaked out and said, oh my God, I got to spend extra time studying professional responsibility. No, you don't. The course, as we've designed it, gives appropriate weight to every subject in every course. This is the advantage of having done this for 30 years. We're not sending you down a blind alley. We're not telling you to study something that isn't worth your time, or overstudying something, or understudying it. And you don't need to worry about how much to study. What you need to do is go into the course, look at the time frame that we've given you for a subject, and follow that. So if you're a California bar taker, we're going to take you through the lecture, which, as I just said, we updated through AI. We're going to give you an outline to read, and we're going to give you essay questions to answer. If you do those things, you'll be ready for that particular subject. But you don't have to overstudy it, and it doesn't give you any extra credit. The other place I would avoid going these days would be Reddit. I am stunned at how much total nonsense is out there about every bar exam from people that don't have the faintest idea what they're talking about. You might remember I did a video a while ago in which I talked about the Broadway musical, You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown. I think every high school in America has probably performed at least a dozen times. And in that musical, there's a scene in which Lucy is explaining to Linus how the world works. And she's very earnest and very confident and very wrong. I think there are so many Lucys out there about the bar there who just claim to have all of this inside information, and it's just not true. If you're not hearing it from a reputable source that's been around a long time, don't listen to it. And Reddit is not filled with reputable sources. The other thing I would tell you is if you're getting your information about the bar exam from Facebook, I like to say Facebook is where truth goes to die. No validity to most of these, and you don't know who's telling you or what their credibility is or what their credentials are. We're pretty credentialed, Tracy and I and Amanda, and we know what we're doing, Bobka. We know what we're doing. We've done this a long time. And so if you're getting that kind of weird information and it doesn't seem to jive with what we're telling you, reach out, talk to us, let us know. We don't claim to have pointer on all the information, but we can at least evaluate it and say, that makes sense or it doesn't make sense. But boy, the internet sometimes is a very dangerous place.
Use your Facebook to give and receive encouragement as you get ready to study for the bar. And other than that, don't go off on these wild goose chases because you're just wasting time, first of all. You're wasting your energy and you're distracting yourself for no positive purpose.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. On to another student question. And I got this a lot, and I'll get it a lot more over the next couple of weeks. Students said, what score should I be aiming for in doing my practice multi-states? And there is no one single number or answer that we can give you. It depends on where you are in the process. Most of you are still doing the first set of 100, or maybe you're into the second set of 100 questions in a topic. If you're in that first set of 100 to maybe 150 questions, there is no target score to reach. The purpose of those questions is to help you learn the law. It's not to be predictive. We will get to predictive exams, which will be 100 questions or more, mixed topic exams later in the course. And that will happen for most of you around the 10th of July for the July bar exam. That's our goal. When you get to those, there are different scores depending on the tests that you're taking. There's something called an online practice exam, an OPE, and we've got 3 of those. And then there are some full-length multi-state exams that were actually given in the past. And then there are some practice MBEs that have never been given. And depending on what kind of test you're taking, there's a different scale or no scale attached to it. And of course, there's the question of whether it's a 6-subject or a 7-subject practice test. There's a lot of intricacy to all of that, but the bottom line is there's no number that you should be aiming for, certainly this date. When you get to the full-length tests, we will tell you in the course what we think the number is for that particular quiz that you're taking, and that's a target number. But ultimately, and Tracy, I know you can speak to this as well, we see people every exam that score way below those targets on practice, but pass the exam. Alternatively, we see people that get incredibly high scores and they're not successful on the exam. The key is doing the same thing over and over again and practicing selective intuition and working. I will share with you that I had a student who's further along in their studies. They did one of the practice MBEs and they got 160 questions correct out of 200. That's a lot. I mean, they're going to pass the bar if they do that. And I said, wow, great work. And they were like, well, I just decided I'd follow your selective intuition, and I was blown away when I saw the results. If you're struggling with selective intuition, there are lectures in the course under the MBE that we encourage you to watch. And I think taking the MBE workshop where one of the coaches can work with you and literally walk you through MBEs is a really valuable thing to do. If you're already signed up for coaching, you can use a coaching call or 2 to talk about multiple choice, whether it's Florida multiple choice or the MBE. And I've done a few of those calls this week. And it's really amazing. I did a multiple choice call with a student last night, and we did selective intuition, and this was fun. The student was very resistant to how selective intuition would work, and I sort of forced them into doing it. I pushed them through it, and you know what happened? They got every question correct. People were like, but that's what the process does. So I think that the bottom line right now is be less worried about your score and more worried about process. You want to add to that, Trace?
What you want to be doing with your practice right now is being very aware of yourself as you take these questions. You know, where is your heart rate? Where's your breathing? Where's your focus? Where is your inner critic while you're taking these tests? The front setting behind your ear telling you can't read this, or have you successfully been able to move that inner critic off to the side while you're taking that test? I think it's really about preparation in the nonlinear sense at this point as you go through your studies. I was working with a student yesterday, and this student's been doing very, very well on essays of late. And we had a pretty good conversation about what's this space and place you're in right now, and how are you going to duplicate that on exam day? So it's now time to start doing it with some journal notes or some diary notes about where your energy is high, where it's a little bit lower, where you have lost focus, what has distracted you, what you have used to make sure that you are focused in on what you're doing, and what things need to be taken off your desk while you're working. This is the time at day 30 to get those in line so that you are just going straight in your lane between here and test day, working very efficiently to be ready to go.
We will talk about multiple choice in the next 4 weeks. But for today, just keep working. Don't freak out. You're not expected to be in the full length test yet. Some people will be, but you don't have to be there quite yet. So that's what's going on there. Another group of questions I got, which I'll just summarize very briefly as how do I incorporate photo reading into my studies at this point? Most of you are photo readers if you're in our course, and there are a number of things you should be doing. I want to start with this advice to every photo reader, and many of you have heard me say this before, but we'll say it again today. I want you to photo read every night before you go to bed. And I'm just going to arbitrarily say that on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, you should photo read all of your multi-state outlines. So that's multi-state book 1 and 2. That'll take you less than a half an hour. You're literally just photo flipping. Now, I do want you to prepare and preview just a little bit, but then go ahead and go right into the photo flip. Then turn on the memory supercharger paraliminal, which is in your course, and then go to bed. Let your brain process that material overnight. So that's Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for multi-state. On Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, I want you to do your state outlines. So California, Florida, Georgia, UB, whatever it might be. And then on Sunday night, take a break. What that means is that you're photo reading every subject 3 times a week between now and the exam. And you might say, well, what am I getting out of it? Well, you're just layering into the non-conscious and giving yourself even more information there. This does not take away from the photo reading assignments that you're to do when you come to a subject or you're reviewing a subject. This is just something you do at night before you go to bed. Typically while you're listening to the memory supercharger, because it's got a sleep learning track. And then sometime during the night, you'll wake up. And when you wake up, that's your brain shutting off and saying, okay, I processed the material. So just let it work that way. So that's the first thing I want everyone to do. Secondly, if you're a photo reader, we want you to continue following the photo reading instructions within your course, and mind mapping is the primary way that you activate that material. So don't lose sight of that. Now, you might want to photo read the outline and then photo read after you've done the lecture, photo read before you're doing your practice essays or practice multiple choice questions. And I think you'll find that that's helpful as well. The point I want to make is that you should continue to photo read all the way through the exam. This is not the time to break away from it, but the time to do it. In that same, Amanda asked that we talk about something that's come up on her coaching calls, which is that people talk about how do you mix photo reading and regular reading? And the answer is, once you become a photo reader, you should never regular read again, except for small bits of information like you'd see on the bar exam. If you're reading an essay question, well, you don't photo read the essay question, you just read it. But the kind of reading you do is rapid reading or super dip and skim or skitter. And if you've been in boot camp or you've been in the workshops or level up, You've heard us talk about the fact that this is like a speedometer on a car. It's not 0 or 100, but there are different speeds that you can read. And super dip and skim, skitter, rapid read are all variations of not quite photo reading. And that's probably what you should be doing. I think that when someone says, I'm going to read all of the outline, you don't have time for that, not productive. And you don't need to do it if you're a photo reader. If you're not a photo reader, what I suggest is that you skim the outlines at this point. But no one should be reading them word for word. Now, I know that's a shock to people who will be watching or listening this that are taking a big box bar review. But the truth is, most people never get through all the outlines, right? I mean, it just doesn't happen. Too much material. Tracy, you remember back in the day, right?
Yeah. And at this point, it's just a panic response. So thinking maybe you should do that, we want you to just stop, put down your pen, put your hands together, close your eyes, and think, why am I thinking this right now? What is going on with me? It's almost always just panic or angst or something. And then
Almost always.
step and re-engage the process.
So I think the best way to use photo reading is for your studies. We will talk about photo reading on the multi-state and the performance tests and the essays. It's really to help you study and study efficiently. The other thing that happens, of course, is that I get people at this point that say, you know what, I'm not going to photo read anymore. It doesn't work for me. Well, it does work. It's just that your conscious brain is really just unhappy because we've left the conscious mind out of this, but it does work. And if you stay with it, it will work. And we know that because it's worked for years and years, decades, literally. We do these interviews with successful students and I ask about photo reading and they almost always say the same thing. I don't know why it works. I don't know how it works. It's just, it works. And I trusted it and it worked for me. So don't give up on your photo read. Even if you've stopped for a while because you thought it wasn't working, go back and do it. Your brain naturally photo read. All you have to do is get out of the way and it will work for you. In that same vein, we get people that ask now about mind mapping, right? How do I use mind maps? What do I do with those? The first thing I would tell you is that this is the time when you start going back and reviewing your existing mind maps. You should be reading them out loud. You can even record them to your cell phone and then play it back as you go to sleep, for example, after you photo read for the night. Using your mind maps, this is the time to start looking at them, consolidating them, and then starting to use them to focus how you want to study. They are such an effective tool, right? I mean, it is amazing what you can do with a mind map. And of course, there are a million different ways to do this, but you can use MindMeister for a computer. You can create your own. The point of the mind map is really the doing of it, I think, don't you? That it's the bringing together information.
It's putting it in relational form, which is why we beg you, don't use flashcards. No way to make those relations. You can't call them back that way. Your brain doesn't work that way. Your brain works in relationships. Even think about when you learn how to say the alphabet. You didn't learn it one by one. You learned it in relationship. And this is the same way. So the mind map is going to help you keep it all in a form where you can see it visually and pull it up as a relational document.
Yeah, it's such a powerful tool. And when we started encouraging students to mind map, we saw great improvement for almost everyone that did it. So again, don't give up on it. Is it too late to start mind mapping? No, not at all. Which really leads me to the last of the questions that we've got today before Tracy talks. And that is, what tools or programs would help me study faster and more effectively? I want to highlight a couple of different tools for you. You can find the links either in your online course, or if you're not in our course, we'll put links in our pages. The first of the tools is bar maps. This is really a powerful tool. It's 3 different products in one. The first part is that we have done mind maps going several levels deep in every subject on the bar, all the multi-state subjects and all the state subjects. And so you have mind maps already created for you that you can then flesh out and customize as you wish. We do them on a program called MindMeister, and it's very easy to take those and start working with them. So that's one of the products in bar maps. The second part of bar maps is a set of time-stamped videos that are built around subjects. So instead of listening or watching an entire lecture for 3 hours, you can see the timing on the lecture and just go to the section that you want. And I think that's particularly valuable when you're getting near the end. And then finally, we have what we call a fast finish audio, which maybe AI will take care of for us now going forward. But for right now, it's my voice and it's speed gapped. And so it's really, really fast. Tracy and I were both high school and college. Well, I was high school and college debater, and you were in high school. And we learned to speak very quickly and we learned to listen very quickly. But one of the great things is that the human brain is able to listen and comprehend at much faster speeds than most of us are aware. In fact, as you're listening to me today, your mind is drifting off because I'm not speaking as quickly as your mind can take it in. So the fast finish audio lets you take the audio track to a lecture and just literally pushes it into the non-conscious. So all three of those products are in bar maps. They are available for every state and for the MBE. Another tool that I think is very important is MBE nutshells. These are video nutshells. We take all 7 of the MBE subjects, we condense them down to 15 minutes or less, and it's literally you're hearing a summary of the outline as well as seeing it on the screen, but the screen is going really fast too. So that's pretty cool. You can buy an individual subject nutshell, or you can buy the whole package of nutshells. And then if you're really struggling with your mindset, I did a master class called Abundance for the Bar Exam. It's an on-demand master class. It's 90 minutes filled with exercises and materials and really has had an incredible impact on people. It's very inexpensive. It's on the website. We'll put a link on the page as well. And this Abundance for Bar study gives you the chance on your schedule to get the tools you need and to get the approach that I think will make mindset work much better for you. So those are 3 of the tools. There are probably other things that we offer that I'm not remembering, but I think those are the 3 that I would recommend to people with 30 days to go. So bar maps, multi-state nutshells, Abundance for Bar study, all very useful things. So hope that helps. Next week, when we come back, of course, we'll be on the 30-day window. We'll start focusing in a little bit more on those issues.
All right. Well, last year in May, we had quite a hailstorm here in Colorado. It damaged most people's homes in my area. And for the last year, gradually, people have been having their roofs replaced because of hail damage. Well, it's my turn this week. And I was just thinking about it as Jackson was talking about tools, about the number of tools that I can hear going on around me right now. I'm hearing the pound, 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 and I know there's a hammer there. I'm picturing the image, right? I'm thinking of this as a mind map, of these guys up on the roof, and they've got hammers, and some of them are hammering, and some of them are using hammers to pull shingles off the other way. And I'm hearing saws, so I know that either wood is being cut or maybe the shingles are being trimmed off. Not exactly sure. I'm hearing things hit the pavement, so I know that shingles are being thrown off the roof. And I don't see any of this because I have everything closed out so that my dogs can be as quiet as possible. And I wonder what they think about all this. They probably think the world's coming to an end. But I am using my intuition. I'm using the mind map that I have of what it means to repair a roof to visualize for myself what's going on. And as I can visualize it, then the stress of what's happening, I can put aside because I know it's supposed to be happening this way. I don't know how to hammer a roof. I don't know how to pull up the shingles. I don't know what the spacing's supposed to be, but I don't have to because they have a process and all I have to do is trust their process. You're 30 days out from your opportunity to go in and prove your legal competence. And this is a time that I say, get all your tools lined up, know how to use them, work with them. If you're missing a tool, you still have time to go out and get it. You can go to our website and get a quick workshop on MBE practice. You can get a workshop on how to write a better MPT essay. You can get a workshop on how to write the FLA essay form that we teach you. You can still work with me or Amanda on time management. There's all kinds of personal coaching opportunities you can get. If you look in your tool belt and you see that something that you need to be able to finish this job correctly is missing. Hail is the damage. Maybe that for you meant that you got a score you didn't appreciate last year. Maybe hail meant that somebody close to you said, "Why are you bothering to do this? You can't do this. You're never going to pass this exam. Why bother?" Maybe it's your super ego, that voice inside your head that tells you you're too stupid and too dumb and too low and you can't write well enough. Why are you bothering? Why are you spending this money? Why are you putting yourself through this again? That's your hailstorm. That happened a while back. That happened the last time you took the exam or the last time you sat down with a well meaning family member who told you to just quit. That's the hailstorm. Today, now, the next 30 days is the repair. This is when you're going to take off that old roof. You're going to take off those shingles that have pock marks in them and they've been torn up and mangled by the hailstorm, and you're going to throw those away. And instead, you're going to put down nice, new, sturdy, strong shingles on the roof of your study process. And you're going to hammer them down. You're going to use the process that we teach you, and you're going to put a nail where it's supposed to be, and another nail where it's supposed to be, and a nail on the other side, and a nail where that's supposed to be. You're going to measure, you're going to cut, you're going to have a new roof when you show up for the bar exam in just a month. All hands.
This is the time when I think most of our students will be putting in 20 to 30 hours a week of study. They'll be hammering their metaphorical bars and roof. And that's the work you got to do. But when you're done, it's so nice to have a new roof, right? We've got our new roof. You've got yours coming this week, and it's cool stuff. One quick message I would just want to share with you, just as a personal note, is that I've been working for the last 165 days to learn French. I've been using an app called Duolingo, and I know it's 165 days because it keeps track of my daily streak. And it's given me an appreciation for what it feels like to come back and study for the bar, right? This is challenging, it's hard work. There are moments of great frustration, and it requires consistency. And I make small incremental gains. I'm not there yet. I'm going to get there. I'm better than I was when I started. But one of the things I love about this particular program, Duolingo, is that they use spaced repetition. They bring ideas back over and over again. They never ask you to memorize. It's all built on context and learning over time. And so as I'm learning to speak French, I'm getting an appreciation for what the process is and the challenges that you might be facing as a bar taker. And I really just wanted to share that I think it's valuable that we as coaches go through these constant learning cycles as well, because they help us stay in touch with the learning process. And I want you to know that when we ask you to do things, we know they're difficult. We know it challenges you. It takes you out of your comfort zone. I'm experiencing that on a daily basis. Oh my God, why do you have to conjugate verbs 100 different ways in French? But nonetheless, it's one of the things that I'm learning. And I want to just credit all of you for having the guts to go out there and study for the exam, to take the risk to learn something new, whether it's your first time or you're a repeat bar taker. And I just wanted to acknowledge that at a really personal level, I can appreciate what a challenge feels like educationally and what it feels like to stretch your brain when you're not used to doing that maybe. I'm going to keep working at French. You keep working at the bar exam, and Tracy's going to keep pounding the nails on the roof. So with that, we're going to go ahead and sign off. We'll see you again next week. We'll be in the 30-day window. Should be an exciting time. I'm also going to send you an email next week if you're in our course, asking you what your biggest challenge is. And Tracy, Amanda, and I will come on and we'll talk about how we would address those biggest challenges. So for now, everybody have a great week. Tracy and Amanda and Bobka will be here holding the fort down, and we will see you all again next week. Thanks, Tracy.
Bye, Jackson.